I don't think anyone missed me, but I'm back from the grave. Yippee! As you can see from the thumbnail and title of the video, today we are talking about Mr. I didn't spread misinformation with malicious intent, James Somerton. Welcome to a maybe brand new series, Apologies from the Grave, where we take an in-depth look at the creator through their apology video.
Anger spiral of my white gay man.
Stuff in the videos, not crediting people, and
I have memory issues because of a head injury from when I was a child.
Nick, if you're watching this, you're probably not. I want you to know I miss you.
Of course, I would like to remind you that I am doing my best in collecting information, and I can't be too certain that they are 100% correct, but I get as close to it as possible, and a lot of stuff I say is my own opinion, so let's agree to disagree. A quick refresher for anyone who may not be familiar with him. James Somerton, an ex-YouTuber who used to be massive in the LGBTQ community, does video essays analyzing media through the LGBTQ community lens. And he was widely respected and hugely popular. That is until Koukoii dropped a video talking about plagiarism in the YouTube space on the 3rd of December 2023, where of the 3 hours and 51 minutes of the video, an hour and 20 minutes of the video was entirely dedicated to James Somerton. That makes about 43% of the video entirely just talking about him. And after the video was dropped, he posted a very bad apology video where he was crying and he was entirely a mess. And then he dropped a more coherent apology video, though he nuked his own channel on May 5th, 2024 after it was revealed his suicide was faked. Now we have a basic understanding of him. Follow me along as I wrote down what exactly I thought about his apology videos. So I watched the second apology video first before I watched the first one, so we are going by that order instead. Oh, and if you just want to hear about my analysis and my opinions, you can skip to this timestamp.
Apologize to my audience, though. You trusted me to be a good representative of the queer community, and I was not that. I tried to be. I tried to be a voice for every member of the queer community, but that was a failed endeavor before it even started.
This is strange that he apologized for being not a good member of the community, which is fine, but then he says this.
I'm a cis white gay man. No matter how much I try to be a good spokesperson, I can never really truly understand the life experiences of other, far more put upon members of the queer community.
Which is probably not what everyone was expecting you to apologize for. And then he goes on to say this.
One of the reasons that I would use their own words, but I should have made it very clear that that's what I was doing.
There are so many things wrong with the statement. I will try to be as short as possible. Basically, he's making himself seem like he had the best of intentions, and because he's a cis, white, gay man, that his experience differs from the others. This is a weird argument since if you really look at it, everyone even in the same category will have different experiences due to many reasons. And then he says that he uses their words to represent their
own words.
I guess that is what he is implying? That just sounds really stupid to me. If you have watched Koukoii's video and many others, the words he plagiarized from others in the LGBTQ community isn't quite something personal. It's an opinion or an observation one could make if they pay attention, or have the will to go figure it out themselves. So it's objective-ish. And in his case, he's not helping them speak. He's just using their words as his own without credit. And he even uses their own personal thoughts. Then what's the point of making a video essay? You're just reiterating someone else's thoughts and opinions without adding on your own. Then it's not a video essay. You're just reiterating someone else's thoughts and opinions without adding on your own. Then that's not a video essay. You're basically just someone else's writer and editor at this point. Also, he keeps going on about this entire thing, which for the first 2 minutes of a 43-minute apology video is a waste of time. And then he drags Nick into this, of course. Okay, I'm just gonna fast forward until he makes a new point because it's the same shtick. He mentioned Jesse.
Extend a personal apology to Jesse Earl, better known as Jesse Gender. Out of everyone that I spoke to who was also a YouTuber, Jesse was by far the kindest person. I think Jesse might be one of the kindest people I've ever met or ever encountered. We never actually met in person. Because of my hot-headedness, I drew her into just this anger spiral of mine that was unwarranted and absolutely ruined a possible friendship.
So basically, he is apologizing to this YouTuber, Jesse Gender, who he had a beef with about a year ago. Jesse usually reached out to other queer content creators, and he basically reached out to James. That's how they know each other. The beef part comes from this particular tweet, where he was implying that Nebula, the site that Jesse was trying to get him on, only has white people on their site. Jesse obviously didn't like that, since what James is saying is harming the platform as well as other creators on the platform. Others had also made tweets about it, and later James had a live stream about the issue.
Talked to folks on Nebula, and then him saying Nebula left me unread, which I am, again, I can only say so much, but I am dubious about.
Have issues with how Nebula, not how Nebula is run in total, but how their recruitment is run, I guess would be the way of saying it. I don't think it's done. I don't think it goes against the way I kind of think things should be. I'm a big believer in democratization, which is one of the reasons I do like YouTube, where, you know, anyone can make it big on YouTube if, you know, they hit the right thing at the right time. It's a big reason I'm a proponent of self-publishing for writers. Big fan of independent artists on Twitter and Tumblr, and, you know, independent film. Obviously, I've starting an independent production company. And so gatekeepers, I have a problem with gatekeepers, people who are kind of like, you're not in the club, and so we're going to ignore that you exist, which is apparently how Nebula works.
Jesse's main issue was how he phrased his opinion about Nebula, and especially these tweets. And also his live stream where James was acting like he was the one being attacked by other people. Jesse mentioned that Sarah Z and Jenny mentioned that the reason that James might not have gotten onto Nebula was because of his plagiarism accusations at the time by smaller creators.
Like, I did address the problem with the initial tweet. I apologized for it. The people showing up in the stream seem to just be coming in to try to make me look bad. And, like, as I've said, there were accusations of plagiarism, and the two that were, the one legitimate one, I just squashed right away and just cut the whole section out of the video and re-uploaded the video. The second one wasn't actually plagiarism because I had gotten permission from the author, but having him, it quoted that it was based on his book in the description of the video wasn't enough for some people, so I took the video down, put the video back up, and then there was the silly one about the Hannibal video, which I talked about before, but it was a younger YouTuber. She made a mistake. It was, you know, she and I spoke to each other, and, you know, she apologized and everything, and there's nothing there, no kind of drama or anything there. James, I think you're missing the point with what Sarah was saying about plagiarism. It's not about whether or not you did it, it's just an explanation of why a corporation might not want to work with you.
And then he mentioned about the dash threats and the police. This part is mentioned in Jesse's video as well, though it had happened to him before, or at least he had mentioned it.
And that is what he was telling them. When he made a video addressing the plagiarism, he titled it, "About Those Death Threats."
Somebody watched my Evil Queens video, my video about Disney, and realized that there are quotes in the video that are directly taken from the book Tinkerbells and Evil Queens. They went ahead and started accusing me of plagiarism. Somebody read their thread and decided to message me some death threats, as you do on the internet. I think she has something like 154 Twitter followers, something like that, and some of the people of that 154 decided, hey, let's threaten to kill him. But yeah, that's the situation. That's why someone doxed me and threatened to kill me.
And he mentioned about the inclusivity thing again.
On the original topic, the work Nick and I were doing on the channel, we wanted it to be, you know, for everyone. We wanted it to be a channel where every queer person could feel welcomed, and we failed at that. That is something that in hindsight I think is impossible to create, and that's why it's important for there to be many different queer voices in spaces like YouTube.
He mentioned not shouting out to other creators and then blaming the algorithm for pushing him, but not other LGBTQ creators.
Queer creators on Twitter, but this was when I only had, 800, 1,000 Twitter followers, and these creators usually had a whole lot more than that. It was a weird thing, because usually they would have infinitely more Twitter followers, but a whole lot less YouTube subscribers. I'm not sure what created that dichotomy, but something was definitely off with the algorithm there. There is a part of my brain that says YouTube kind of went, oh, white male queer, let's push him, and, ignore everyone else in the community, whereas people were able to actually discover other queer creators on Twitter and then make their way to YouTube, but the YouTube algorithm that's the most negative interpretation I have of it, which unfortunately may be true.
He mentioned his plagiarism came from the fact that YouTube started to push one of his older videos and he was in a rush to get out a new one, which sounds like a bullshit excuse, but I understand the pressure. A little.
For them, after not releasing a new video for like 2 years, I felt like I had a short period of time to get the next videos out as soon as possible, which is why so little work was put into the writing of them, and so much was taken from other places, plagiarized.
And then he talked about his crediting.
Early on, I thought crediting authors in the opening credits alone was enough, especially since the videos weren't monetized early on. But I understand now, especially after speaking with some of the people who I did plagiarize, that was just, I was wrong. That was not the way to go about it. They should have been cited properly within the text of the video. They should have been called out in the video at least once, verbally, as well as, having citations on screen. If there were a whole lot of them, like with, one of the examples that H-Bomber Guy used in his video was the Deep Cuts video. There were a whole lot of people who I, credited in the opening credits, but really it's plagiarism. They should have been cited on screen with actual citations of, links where you can find this stuff. Maybe there should have even been a bibliography that you could have gone to, like on a Google Drive or something like that. Because, although I might have stated that the scripts were based upon the work of these authors, it, in many cases, wasn't just based on their work. It was their work, word for word.
Okay, so I have a slight question. James, have you been in university? Did none of the lecturers teach you how to cite sources? It's common knowledge, if you have done thesis before, that you cite sources for the research, but you directly cite them if you use a line straight out of the paper. James, have you been to uni? I'm being serious here? Like he himself said about the Deep Cuts video, and from H-Bomb Guy's video, that the Deep Cuts video had a lot of people that he didn't cite, and he brought up the Evil Queens thing again.
Queen's Disney video. I'll put the email up on the screen that I got from Sean Griffin, where he did give me permission to publish the video. I sent the finished video to him, and he watched it and he gave me permission. But in most cases, I didn't get permission. and thought that just putting the author's name in the opening credits was enough.
Which, as stated by Guy, he didn't even cite the work before someone had made a thread about it. And as Guy mentioned, he only cited it 2 months after he uploaded the video.
Hundreds and hundreds of words worth of examples of the video directly copying Griffin's book. She eventually asked him why he didn't credit it, and he responded that he hadn't started crediting source materials yet when he made the video. He then finally added a reference to the book to the description almost 2 months after it had been uploaded. He'd gone with the internet historian method, put an acknowledgement of your theft in the description later and pretend that makes stealing okay. The thread's author thanked him for admitting it, but pointed out adding a line of text to near the bottom of the description is deceptive, considering the sheer amount of writing he copied. It looked like he was trying to get away with it by hiding some text somewhere no one would see. In response, he did the professional adult thing and blocked her and started tweeting vaguely about being wrongly accused of plagiarism, even though he always credits authors in the video description, which is a very funny thing to say when he didn't do that until the person he's currently complaining about pointed out he didn't. In just over a day, James went from saying, "Whoops, I'll put his name in the description, learning as I go, smiley face," to "I always credit authors in video descriptions, fuck off with your accusations."
This video from this screenshot was uploaded July 20th, 2020. Meanwhile, this email that he showed on screen was dated September 10th, 2020. Besides saying that he didn't credit work back then, which I don't understand why it never crossed his mind. I'm kidding, I know why. And he also made a video about it as well.
He claimed he simply forgot to credit the book, which made up the vast majority of his script.
I'm kind of flighty when a video is done and I'm putting the credits together, so I don't always remember to put everything in the credits. That's kind of been a problem with me in the past. That has happened before.
And then he talked about Nick, his other writer. This is the famous part where he mentioned his head injury was the reason why he is forgetful.
I'm sure a lot of people will call a bullshit excuse. I have memory issues because of a head injury from when I was a child. They're actually getting worse. I've talked about it on streams and in videos, so yes, it is real, but some people will call it a bullshit excuse anyway.
And he also brought up his epilepsy for the reason that he can't work.
The head injury is actually what led to me having epilepsy, which is why I can't work in any job that involves physical labor. Employers can't get insurance for me to lift things or operate vehicles and stuff like that. I actually did marketing for a restaurant group for a little while, but got let go when they found out that I was epileptic because, at least according to them, I couldn't be insured to be in the kitchens where I needed to be to film videos and take photos and stuff like that.
And then he fucking says that he forgot to cite the copy and paste parts because of his ADHD. At any point, I don't think this can get any worse. It does. It fucking does.
Came to editing the scripts, I couldn't remember what I'd written and what had been copy-pasted. We should have just chucked out everything that I had put into the script and filled them in with wholly original thoughts. Or I should have been taking notes on where things came from so that we could at least cite them in the videos, if nothing else, but I never did that. According to my therapist, my not thinking to do that probably stems from my recently diagnosed ADHD, but I don't know if I'm willing to say that, really. Maybe it was, or maybe it was just plain laziness.
He basically can't remember what parts are his own words and what is copied due to the head injury, and then forgot due to ADHD. So I don't have ADHD and I can't speak on how it works, but if you knew that it was a problem since you knew that you copy and pasted it, can't you just copy the web link and just leave it besides because you already know you can forget about it? There are so many ways to circumvent the issue, and what does he do? Fucking nothing. We are only 14 minutes into this video. Oh my god, this video is gonna be so fucking long. And then he mentioned family issues. We will skip that since while I understand that a family member passing away is always difficult, saying too much isn't always a good thing, especially when you have said all of this before this point. You ain't getting brownie points for putting tragedy in, you're just making this longer than necessary. I understand that I might sound cruel, but PR-wise, being straight to the point in whatever way than going on constant detours is much better. Alright, moving on to the next point, where he talked about his family matters. He mentioned Telos, the film company that he was supposed to be working on. TLDR, he wanted to use his mother's insurance money to fund the short film project, but since it was a bust, he chose crowdfunding. And the money was more than he asked for, so he wanted to make a feature film. He wanted to do a feature film to be sent to the film festivals called Final Girl. He finished the screenplay in summer, sent it to Nick, who was on a 2-month vacation at the time. He put out a casting call before Nick could read it. Nick didn't like it and said it needed a rewrite. And then he worked on a new screenplay. He put in a new casting, and he had gotten a lot of people signing up. But then Nick and him calculated the cost and found it to be too much. The cost also involved registering Telos as their actual company. So he switched the script again, but couldn't film since the new script was set in summer, and it was close to winter halfway through the new script. So he made another one. He chose to work in the public domain, and then while the script was being drafted and in the works, the H-bomber got it. During this apology video, he mentioned that he was working with a producer back then, but we all know that he nuked his channel and basically just ran with the money despite him stating that he wouldn't.
But the intention was never, ever, to take the money and run. I was so insanely excited about getting to make Telos a reality. I was excited about getting to make a short film, let alone a feature. It's always been my dream to make movies, so Telos meant, and means, the world to me.
And he spoke about sponsorships very briefly, mentioning that he didn't take all sponsorships set his way, but he did take quite a few, and due to personal expenses at the time and also needed to pay Nick, he mentioned that he does more plagiarism. As if he hadn't before Nick copied an entire book. And then he talked about nuking his social media presence. And then he referenced the original apology video, and then he talked about his attempted suicide. At least I thought of it as that way. He mentioned that there were some crazy people that showed up to his hospital room, and then he left Ontario. But it's more than just that. So, this part is... Well, if you don't know all of the mess that happened, basically, he posted a suicide note which raised concerns and people were contacting whoever they could find to know if James is okay. Obviously, no matter how much most of us hate some of the content creators, we don't really want them to die. At most, we just want them to get off of the internet. However, the problem is, he also posted someone else's naked ass. Yes, not his. Someone else's naked ass on his private account. I won't say much about this because obviously we don't know the full situation, but this is still very funny in a very fucked up way. Also, I find it funny how he didn't donate the money himself to these people despite H-Bomber Guy and Todd in the Shadows basically showing who he plagiarized from and what he ended up lying about. And he's still making excuses about his misinformation. Incredible. In one of his excuses, he says this.
In other cases, it was information that we had researched. In other cases, it was things that Nick had learned in university.
If it's research, that means that your research method has a problem that it hasn't checked. Or it's just researched. And one of the most about Nick again.
The point being, it was never malicious. We weren't trying to lie about things, despite what a lot of people think. We were not trying to spread misinformation. That was not ever our intention.
Who the fuck would admit that their lies are malicious? They wouldn't. Nobody would spread a lie about you and then tell you that it's a lie unless they are exposed. Or, just double down on it. It's not good for your image. It's not good for you as well.
As for my Patreon, everyone can stop worrying about me relaunching it right in time for a billing cycle. That will not be happening. I don't want anyone who either doesn't know about the plagiarism or simply forgot to unsubscribe to get billed.
At least he shut down his old Patreon.
So I'm going to start from zero. I have put together a new Patreon account. So if you want to support my documentaries about gay history, fantastic. Honestly, your faith in me after everything means the world to me.
Oh god, he made a new one?
This video is not about promoting myself.
Well, you just did, so...
This video is about me apologizing. And I am incredibly sorry.
It was supposed to be an apology video, but it's 43 minutes and you spent 2 minutes apologizing for not being inclusive enough to the LGBTQ community when you are supposed to be apologizing for your plagiarism, Talos, and the people you have copied from. Sorry, I am going fucking insane.
Sorry. It was never my intention for anyone to feel hurt or left out or excluded. It was never my intention to spread misinformation. And I'm really, really sorry that that happened.
He really likes this part, huh? Also, he should have put this at the start and not 35 minutes in. And then he goes on to repeat all of the things he said before, apologize for them, realizing that he should somehow find solutions.
There is no excuse for what I did. For everything that happened, whether it be with my mom or the memory issues, there was something I could have done to mitigate that.
Oh, so you do know! And then he talked about how he should have told his Patreon members that he would step aside for personal issues or spend longer time on research. Then he went to talk about his plagiarism issue again, mainly about the celluloid closet, where he just copied everything from the documentary despite him saying that it was based on the book, since he also used exact footage from the documentary.
Closet by Vito Russo, the book, not the documentary. I expanded on it quite a bit, but it was based directly on Vito's work, and I credited him in the opening credits. And I thought it was okay to just do that because the book was out of print, and Vito had passed away, unfortunately, from HIV complications due to HIV and AIDS. And I looked at it more as extending his legacy, making sure that people knew about the work that he did. But I don't think I ever mentioned his name in those videos.
Downloaded a copy of the documentary, loosely paraphrased it, and as footage for the video he uses the same clips the documentary used of the movies it talked about. He also reuses the more pivotal interviews, adding his own titles so it looks like he got them from somewhere else.
Then at the end he talked about crediting and then he apologized again. Okay, first draft 1,720 words. Now you know how long he dragged this on and how many things I have to say.
There's no black senators. No black senators. I don't even think it would even matter there's no black senators. There's that. The Republicans.
So first thing I noticed, he made himself look small. Since the camera was placed to face like this instead of straight at him, the background took up more space to make him look smaller, and he's a lot more emotional with this one. He mentioned the hospital immediately after apologizing.
I've been in the hospital for a little over a week. Trying to make this a sob story. I'm just trying to explain why I've been so quiet.
Well, you're crying and being emotional and talking about your attempted suicide. I don't think that makes sense. I can already tell this is going to be more pain than this one. This really drags on.
Opening titles, things, and I tried to put like this is based on this person's research or this person's book, but I know now that wasn't enough. That wasn't okay.
To be honest, he makes his lack of credit sounds like a massive crime, which in fact it isn't.
Not sorry that I got caught. I'm sorry for ever doing it. I honestly.
Well, you are. That's why you're apologizing. He mentioned that he didn't know that he was hurting people, which, well, considering his attitude, yeah, makes sense. He probably didn't care before. And then he started to mention Nick.
Nick and I had been best friends since 2011 or 12. We'd been friends online, and then he lived in Ottawa, and I moved to Ottawa so that we could be like friends in person. And then we moved back to...
I'm not sure why he's suddenly rambling about his and Nick's friendship and meeting, but okay. He apologized for misinformation in general. He also mentioned this.
Never intended for any of that stuff to be in the videos. In most cases, I didn't write it, but I should have you know, it was my face on the channel. It was my name on the channel. I should have been, more diligent about fact checking and stuff.
Which I think is funny because he has been doing videos for a while now, and he knows that every information he adds into his videos are intended to convey something, even his misogynistic views. He then thanked H-Bomber Guy for the fund. He said that he wanted to help, but he didn't know how, and he mentioned that people think that he's making a lot of money, which he probably was even when he mentioned that he was splitting the money 50-50 with Nick.
Really making, they're way overestimating. Beyond the fact that Nick and I split everything 50-50, they're still way overestimating how much money came in.
He mentioned that he wants to move, and that he's living somewhere expensive. He said that he will make most of the videos public again, but we all know that he nuked his channel, so yeah. He also mentioned about donating money from those videos to the fund. He also mentioned about making those donations publicly available. I don't know whether or not he did donate the money to the fund, but I hope he did, even a little. He mentioned that people thought that he was going out doing journalism.
Me going out doing journalism. I never thought anyone thought that I was doing like journalism on stuff. And I don't think anyone did. But the people who actually were doing it should have been given the credit that they deserved. They did the hard work. All I did was edit a video.
I'm not sure why he mentioned it, though I guess it's because most people will think that his videos are well researched and probably credited, which it isn't.
Each author's name is in a different color for convenience. This video steals roughly 10,000 words from 18 different places, and this is just the stuff I found. There could be more. A truly staggering portion of this video is James staring into his prompter, reading words he got by googling movie name gay.
He mentioned the videos he adapted from books and the way he credited it.
From his book, The Celluloid Closet. Same thing went for the Gay Panic video and the Gay Holocaust video. The Gay Holocaust video was adapted from 2 books, and the Gay Panic video was adapted from a lot of journalism. And I put their names right at the beginning.
But obviously that's not how citation is supposed to work, and he just one-for-one copied the documentary of Celluloid Closet. He mentioned that he wanted to do proper citations for his new videos, which honestly is something that he should have done from the start.
Videos that are fully sourced, where I will put a link to the script where you can find all of the sources, so that everyone is properly given the credit that they deserve. Any kind of research that's done, credit for any B-roll that's used, whether it's like stock footage or movies or TV shows or video games or anything like that.
Why didn't they give us before, Maybe it's because you think that it doesn't matter.
I read a lot of stuff from people who were really hurt.
He mentioned about the stuff he had read in the comments people made on him, and he says this.
And not just authors and stuff, but people who watched my videos who were hurt by stuff in them. People think that I hate ace people and women and bisexual people and lesbians, and that's not true.
Damn, he hates everyone. He mentions his lies and misinformation again.
Promise you I did not write that stuff.
Dan, so that wasn't you?
Despite his cannibalism, despite the decades-long erasure of his victims, these women, and mostly teenage girls, are swooning over him. And why not? To our knowledge, Dahmer never killed any teenage girls, or any women at all, so there's a level of disconnection.
So this was the author you copied from, despite the fact that this passage does not even exist in the original article?
I don't think those things.
You do. Otherwise, why would you include it? He then apologized to asexual people, which unfortunately I am not sure the context behind.
Nick being ace, I know it's kind of like, no 2 gay people are exactly the same and no 2 ace people are exactly the same, but I kind of, when it came to that, I would just kind of run with Nick's judgment and his observations and stuff like that.
Then he brought up Nick again, And here it felt like he was putting Nick under the bus for the words that were spoken about asexual people. He ended up adding this.
I'm not trying to throw Nick under the bus, which a bunch of people were saying that I was setting him up as doing, which is not true. This whole thing, Nick and I were 50-50 partners. It wasn't I hired him to have a scapegoat or something like that. I never hired Nick.
Well, here's the issue. When you use someone else as a pointer for the opinions you make, especially something as complex and intimate as sexuality, you're basically telling everyone that, hey, if I say anything bad, it's because of them. It doesn't matter whether or not you intend to, it gives others that impression. He mentioned the 50-50 thing again, but his argument was that Nick wasn't hired to be a scapegoat, and that they were friends for a while now. I'm not sure if those statements were popular, but he probably never really thought of Nick that way. However, all his words in this video just put Nick into a limelight.
And how fast we were putting videos out was it was too fast.
He blamed the upload schedule again, which sounds a lot like a certain someone. He mentioned other YouTubers in the crowd had made up lies about him.
I mean, a lot of people on social media and other YouTubers even lying about me, but other Bomber guy was not one of them.
He mentioned Talos, his indie movie company and project.
Talos was never a scam. It was never a grift or anything like that. I swear, it was not. It is not. In the next couple of days, I'm going to send out a message to the Telos supporters on Indiegogo and explain the whole situation in more detail to them, because we were not super clear about everything that was going on with Telos, and so I understand why it seems like we weren't doing anything, but we were doing a lot of work talking about it, because we made that initial first announcement for Final Girl, and that fell through, and I'll explain that to the message I send out to the supporters, which I'm sure will end up on Reddit or somewhere. After that, we didn't want to talk about it too much until we had something really concrete, and I'll explain all of that in that message.
I'm not sure if he ever fully explained to his backers on Indiegogo, but then again, he only chose to make an announcement now rather than before, and he explained the whole situation in his second apology video. Either way, it doesn't matter anymore if he intended to take the money and run. He ran, so oh well.
You have a work ethic.
Yeah, sure you do. He started to cry again and kept mentioning that he wants to keep making videos, and also the fact that apparently he makes a lot of videos he didn't want to make, which I find funny. He released that video to his Patreon, but a lot of people didn't like it. I have no idea which video he is referring to, but it makes it sound like something good that it never came out.
Where on my mother's grave that there will be no copying people. No copy and pasting.
He suddenly said this and it shocked me. But oh well, I didn't know why he needed to swear on his mother's grave for that, when it's something that he was supposed to have done.
Because I actually liked doing research.
Yeah, you love research so much that you decided to take those words word for word and put them in their video like those words were your own. He blamed them on laziness, and again, the malicious standpoint, which is a hill that he will die on.
The highest level of scrutiny on the new videos.
Well, he didn't make any more videos after his second apology video, so yeah.
And I could take the money and run. And no. First of all, that was never my plan, and I'm not gonna do it.
Well, James, you're gone, so it doesn't matter if that was your plan. Oh well, you're just coward and decided to fuck off. Lastly, he mentioned Patreon and said that he was going to reactivate it.
I'm going to reactivate it now so that anyone who wants to leave, which I imagine will be the vast majority, can leave and not have to be worried about being billed again in January.
He really likes to focus on taking the money and running.
And again, I'm not sorry because I was caught. I'm sorry because I honestly didn't know how much I was hurting people.
I'm just giving up at this point. I said too many times about these particular words. Then he mentioned about the hate comments, the fact that he deleted some of them because he wanted his channel to be a safe place. I'm not entirely sure what those comments look like, but generally deleting comments makes you look guilty. So usually most people would tell you to just leave it be. He really likes to talk about misinformation since he brought it up again. But then again, he fucking says this.
I did the wrong research into historical things and other things. They're not what I wrote.
Well, no shit, you plagiarized it. There are 3-ish more minutes and it feels like an eternity. He thanked Koukoii for the fun again, and he wants to put some of the videos back up with proper crediting. He apologized again for hurting the people that he respected, and honestly, there probably is a lot more out there. He ends on a note saying that he wants to do better. But there's a fun little thing that happened back in April of 2025 that we'll mention later that made it clear that he didn't change at all.
I will do better.
Oh boy, that felt like an eternity. But it's just 33, almost 35 minutes. After that pain, we can now talk about him. The one thing that is very consistent about him is that he never really once just said, I apologize for plagiarizing. Every time plagiarism is brought up, his phrasing was somewhere along the lines of, I never intended to be malicious. Which, like I mentioned time and time again during the reaction section, is bullshit. Same with why he plagiarized. He never took any direct accountability for his action. None. He always finds ways to phrase his actions as accidents, or just for the best of the community. It's never about him doing something bad. It's him making a mistake, and that he always had the best of intentions and the type of content that he's delivering to his audience. No malicious intent is a hill that he will not. But James, nobody will say that they spread lies with malicious intentions. Even if they are, it would just pick another hill to die on. You may ask me why I do retrospect on the Pngtuber videos instead of their entire content blog. Besides the fact that I may not have the videos from the days, it's also the fact that Pngtuber videos are an immense pressure on the content creator. No matter how they felt about their actions, they still have to put on a sincere mask in order to gain the sympathies from the audience.
I wish it was a better picture, but I can't pray for the past, I can only pray for the future.
And at this moment, what they choose to do in response to apologize for their action, even if they don't want to, or they just put out a fucking ukulele. It says a lot about them. This is the closest we get to see to the person beneath whatever mask they put on. And when at this moment, you're not even willing to say, I'm sorry for what I have done. Even if it's so cheap that it's insulting, you aren't even willing to do the bare minimum. So what does that say much? Moving back on topic, he says a lot of stupid things just to get himself out of accountability. Is he not aware of his plagiarism? He might be, but then again, if he is entirely unaware, he wouldn't have put these people in his credits, or even missed out on quite a sum of people that he copied entire sentences from. He says that he has memory issues. No matter if that is true or false, it still means that he is aware that he will forget about this. If he had known for a long time, then why doesn't he do anything to stop it? It's because he doesn't care. If he had cared, then he would have known to add a note or something, or just a line of text that reads, hey, remember to change this into words of your own. But that's even worse, because that means that he never even formed an opinion of his own, and had to change other words to become his opinion, or others' research and frame it as his own. He has no integrity. He has never cared about whether or not his words might be misleading, and he has never ever once decided that he should stop his playthrough. Koukoii had mentioned that a particular video about the anime Attack on Titan and its political themes. The video has a lot of parts that were plagiarized from a 2013 WordPress articles by Seldom Musings, which also caused a creator to come back to the blog just to post a statement about it. And the statement was posted on 18 December 2022, despite the blog being defunct for years. And even after that, James continued to make videos and continued to plagiarize words from many others. But if you think about it logically, is there any reason for him to change? There isn't, because plagiarism has time and time again proved to James that it works, that nobody would notice it and even praise him for all of the great work he has done in researching for his video essays, even if his video essays are just mostly words from others that he repurposed. So, why should he change? His words about Nick in his apology videos do make Nick sound like a scapegoat. It has something to do with the way he phrased his wording, and the fact that any issues about asexuality should be blamed on Nick instead of himself. Though he doesn't frame it as such, but when you only make it clear now out of all times, it means that you more or less intend for Nick to take the brunt of the damages. Sarah Z does also have an asexual writer. She mentions her sometimes in her videos. But Sarah Z always mentioned it in the videos, and James never really felt like he tried to separate those statements from his own thoughts. Of course, I'm still a firm believer that even if you do have a co-writer, if you chose to read out the problematic views, it means that you believe in them as well. Otherwise, you would have just asked them to rewrite it. And then about Telos. I wasn't aware that James was working on a film, even a short film, unlike Markiplier, but I do understand that Markiplier has been on the platform for over a decade now, and even someone like my brother, who is close to being 30, used to watch him when he was in middle school. He still sometimes does. So there's a difference in influence. But still, James did have funding for his project, and yet after he had shown a script on his Twitter, he just went radio silent. And in his second apology video, he did talk about why Telos was on hold, but the problem is that he hasn't updated anyone or anywhere about the progress and why it was delayed. I really want to talk about the fact that he mentioned that the money that was going to fund his film project was from his mother's insurance money, and really, I think he shouldn't have mentioned it. I think it's a bit dubious, but obviously it's his family. He's entitled to use the money in whatever ways he wants. But still, he should have informed his backers about the state of Telos as well as his Prune project, and not just do a disappearing act. It's within his responsibility to tell those who actually paid money to fund him what happened and what's causing the delay. Even if you basically drag on forever, you are still at least doing the bare minimum requested of you. And again, he's refusing to even do just that. Despite everything he has done, even cyberbullying a commenter who was pointing out to him that he had plagiarized an entire book, up until Guy's video, he has never publicly apologized or even backtracked his actions. It's because to him, those incidents don't warrant a response, or even the accusations made by others before the Guy video wasn't big enough to be of consequence to him. And even after he quit the YouTube space, apparently he had set up a portfolio as a wedding photographer and the portfolios were all stolen. If you wonder why they are so sure, it's because his name and face is there. It really isn't. This is the April 2025 incident I mentioned earlier. Though it is as expected. Why would someone choose the long path when they know that the easy path worked for them before? Hell, on the internet, unless you're taken to jail, you can just change your name or change work and no one else will probably recognize you. That's the issue with many co-op posts or even exposés. Some just aren't major enough to warrant a response from the content creator, and said content creator won't even have to face any consequences. But still, Jane Somerton is especially egregious in this sense. Even in modern day society where most of us would accept those that identify in the LGBTQ community, it doesn't mean that everyone would, and doesn't mean that every country accepts them as well. So imagine how these people must feel, knowing that their work was stolen, that their voices were taken by someone else and pretend it's his own, that all the hours of their work they have just put into their research were just taken by someone else in the community that was supposed to be looking out for them, sometimes even without proper crediting. James Somerton didn't do it for the love of the game, for the love of expressing your opinions and sharing your findings to others. Perhaps he did it for money, for fame, for the attention that it gives him. But no one will know for certain. He's gone, and he will never tell us precisely why he thought that plagiarism was the right path for him. And while working on another script, I just realized that the 2 apology videos he had posted, he didn't even talk about his misogynistic views. He didn't even mention or talked about it. Holy shit, I've almost forgotten about that. In a combination of 1 hour plus, he said nothing about his misogynistic views. He didn't even say anything in terms of apology for it. I guess he lumped it in with misinformation considering the things he was saying, but some of the examples Guy used were just his own opinions. What the fuck, James? Well, the next video in this series will be on but, well, I can't promise you when it will come out. This is Amelia from the Cat is Bored channel, where I talk about whatever I am interested in at the moment. And I will see you again next time. Bye bye!